don't wait around for the...
I'm a great believer in looking for a pitch.
You know, my whole career, I think I kind of set myself up for being in that position, to make a run at 400.
But Tony's certainly right in one thing. In order to have that 400 a year, everything has to fall in place.
Williams and Gwynn talk about the science of swing with host Bob Costas on Legend to Legend. Next, only on Classic Sports Network. Classic Sports presents Legend to Legend.
I'm a great believer in looking for a pitch.
You know, my whole career, I think I kind of set myself up for being in that position, to make a run at 400.
But Tony's certainly right in one thing. In order to have that 400 a year, everything has to fall in place.
It's about listening to people who've been in that same situation before and had success.
Williams and Gwynn, Legend to Legend.
In 1941, at the age of 23, Ted Williams did something truly remarkable. He became the first player in 17 years to bat better than 400 for a season. That year ended at 406. In 1994, Tony Gwynn of the San Diego Padres came tantalizingly close. He was hitting 394 when the players' strike ended the season. Recently, at the Ted Williams Museum in Hernando, Florida, Classic Sports had the very unique opportunity to listen to these two great hitters, Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams, talk about hitting. Your host is Bob Costas.
Tony, there is no greater student of hitting in baseball today than you. You're legendary for having all of your at-bats cataloged on videotape. Go back and look at them when you're going to face that pitcher again, and all the hours in the batting cage under the stands in addition to the regular BP. I would imagine somewhere in your long study of hitting, you've gone over the theories of Ted Williams.
Oh, no question. You know, just sitting here listening to him speak, you know, I all ears. I saw, you know, I think in order for me to be successful, I've had to listen to people. I've had to take little bits and pieces of everybody that I know that's played the game. I've read books, I've looked at video, and somehow try to incorporate some of their theories into what I do. And Ted Williams' book was the first book that I ever read, The Science of Hitting. And I really wasn't, early on, I wasn't really interested in the words. I was very interested in the little baseball picture, the little baseball box.
I can still see it.
On the back of the magazine. And with Ted's balls, you know, he had that one little square on the outer part of the plate that he really didn't hit the ball that great with, but the rest of it, there was 300s everywhere. And as I started to play big league ball, I flipped that around. I turned it inside out. I was always strong on the ball in the outer third and kind of weak on the ball in the inner third. And so that's when I went back and got the Science of Hitting and started reading through on how to hit that ball inside. And, you know, this year I had my best year. I felt like I could control both sides of the plate. But that's what hitting is all about. It's not about taking your own abilities. It's about listening to people who've been in the same situation before and had success.
But everything we're talking about here, and you give him all the credit in the world, so do I, for wanting to better himself and going out and practice and everything else. But in the book I wrote, I did the same thing. But in the book I wrote, I closed it by saying, to be successful as your abilities are there, and you've got great ability, is how smart you are at the plate.
Yeah.
And it's from here up, 50% of it. So if you don't guess, you're not using a big factor. What about when you get to count 3-0? He might not hit 3-1, 2-0. And or a pitcher that when he throws it, he said, geez, I hope you can get that over, you know? and so right away you take a little more advantage. Now, in order to pull, you might have to get up in the plate. Dare him to try to get it by you. Dare him. And okay. And the best thing that ever happened to me was when a pitcher hit me on the fist inside. I never felt bad about that. I knew that if he hit me in the inside, that I was waiting pretty good.
Yeah.
Second thing, what does the pitcher think immediately? He says, you can pitch him inside. That's the way to pitch him. That's where baseball history's made, from the middle in. You know? And the pitchers are not the brightest guys in the field. So you got to take advantage of deliveries, patterns, and of course it all relates back to how well you see the ball against this guy. Some of the best pitchers I ever hit at, I could see them like gangbusters. And they were the fastest pitchers I ever hit at, but I could see them good. And it's that herky-jerky little guy that you can't pick up and never does the same thing twice. and has a little life on his ball. Those are always tough guys.
Ted, when you went 6 for 8 in that last doubleheader, last day in 1941, to get to 406, I know you were happy to hit 400, but did you not want the season to end because it was a dream year and you wanted to stay in that groove?
In order to have that 400 a year, which is a wonderful year, everything has to fall in place. You have to have, you know, you get cycles of good hitting, good pitching, you know. Everything has to fall in place. Good years, bad, everything has to come in place. But a hitter like Tony has a much better chance of doing it, say, than a big swinger that misses a lot, that kind of thing. But I'll tell you, I would bet right now, Tony Gwynn's still a young fellow, got a lot of career ahead of him. But when he is all through, you'll be guessing more than he ever did in his life. And that's the reason I asked him that question.
You know, Ted, you told a great story in the Ken Burns baseball documentary of your last at-bat, and you had hit some balls that might have gone out on another day. The air was heavy that damp day at Fenway Park, your last game.
Quite a touching sight. Everyone standing at Fenway Park as Ted Williams takes a pitch outside from Jack Fisher.
Jack Fisher's on the mound for the Orioles, and he threw a fastball by you, he thought.
He thought.
This gives the great insight into the mind of a hitter, and even, you could say, the last ball you ever hit in the big league, you guessed on.
Oh, you bet. He threw me, I had to count 2-0. And he threw a fastball right there, and I don't know. You always know what you did. Was I underneath it, or, geez, was it a change-up, or... And I couldn't figure out, I could not figure out in any way why I missed that ball. There I saw it, I swung what I thought was good and everything, and I was befuddled right there at home plate. But you know what? After I missed that pitch, I'm watching him. Give me the ball, right? Give me the ball right away, you know. Give me another one. I'll throw this one by him, too, see? And I thought, well, he thinks he threw that ball by me. Yeah. Here he come again, and I hit it just a little bit better, and that was it. Yeah. But guess, you got to guess. But to get the most out of your abilities, because if you don't, you're just throwing away everything you know about a pitcher, everything you see of the score, everything you think of the win, everything. How do they pitch to me? And if you don't guess, well, you're losing a little bit.
And they remain standing here for the most part at Fenway Park as Williams hit probably for the last time in a Boston uniform in this ballpark. There's a drive to deep right center. This may be gone. Fred way back there watching. Home run, Ted Williams. Well, if you had written it that way, nobody would believe it, so why even try?
And I'm going to predict right this show. Well, how many homers did you hit last year?
I hit 12, which is a lot for me.
All right. I'm going to predict you're going to start hitting more home runs.
Well, I thank you very much. And
certainly don't change what you're doing. I'm not. But take more advantage of the count.
Exactly.
More advantage of the type pitcher you're hitting against. Crowd the plate once in a while because you know you can pull the ball better in. You can hit the ball hard when it's over the plate through the middle. Yeah. But if it's the ninth inning, 2 men out, and you're up there and you got the count 2-0, you know? Mm-hmm. Say, well, I'm going to take Pickens on this pitch because I could get a double or even a home run.
Now, right to that situation. Now, you were ahead 2-0 in the count. You got a good pitch to hit. You fouled it off. But you, into yourself, you didn't give the outward appearance that you were upset that you missed it.
How would you be thinking on that?
If I fouled it back, I know I missed it, but I'm not going to give the pitcher.
But that's right. But you didn't say how you missed it.
Okay.
How did I miss it?
Well, you were right on.
If you were underneath, were you early or late?
Yeah, okay, I got you.
I mean, if you're underneath the pitch, what are you, generally early or late?
If you're underneath the pitch? Well, see, that's different with me. I say late.
I say late, too.
Okay. Well, see, I hit the ball the other way. I hit the ball the other way a lot.
I know you do.
Now, you hit .394 last year. Your lifetime batting average is .333. You've won 5 batting titles. And when Ted Williams said, now, do you swing all the way through in this situation, or do you push at the ball, you had the look of a schoolboy, hoping he would have the right answer, or the teacher would slap his hand with a ruler.
No question. No question about it. You know, and it's funny because, you know, lots of people look towards Ted Williams as their teacher, whether if they were fortunate enough to work under him or do like I did, reading books and stuff. And, I mean, anybody else asked me that question, there's no doubt. I'd say, yeah, I tried to stay behind the ball and block the ball off, but with Ted sitting there, I had to think about it for a minute, and I was a bit nervous. But, you know, I only wish that other hitters had the opportunity to sit down and talk to them about their own personal situations, because you can learn so much just from talking to people.
Legend to legend will continue in a moment.
Ted was not the emotional or dramatic type of ball player that DiMaggio was. He just hit all the time and had no weakness to my knowledge, and was by far the best hitter that I saw all the time I was up there, and I had an opportunity to pitch to Hornsby as well as Al Simmons.
Ted Williams and Tony Gwynn. Legend to legend.
Here's Carew, damn good hitter.
Yeah.
Boggs, damn good hitter. But they lose out in their total effectiveness because they've proven they can hit the ball.
Yeah.
But they don't hit with as much steam as they could. They tell me Boggs, I've seen him do it, put on exhibitions in batting practice, and you probably can too. That's just like guess hitting's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because you can guess awfully, awfully good. And that's the reason that the slider made hitting a lot tougher than, say, when you broke in. You find that they're throwing more sliders now than when you broke in?
More sliders, more split fingers.
Do you think that that's made hitting a little tougher?
No question.
So do I. So do I. And so there's more pitches, and the fact to use a light bat makes an awful lot of difference.
Yeah.
But I'm a great believer in looking for a pitch. I know one of the best pitchers, one of the very best pitchers, and he wasn't a great pitcher, and he should have been. He should have been. But he relied on one pitch so damn much that, geez, you could lay all week for it. And it's the same way with the almighty fastball.
Hey, who was this guy? Everybody wants to know. Who was this pitcher?
Dick Donovan.
Oh, Dick Donovan, the old White Sox guy.
You bet.
He had some good years.
Oh, he had a great slider and a good little sinker with it. Now, that's all you really need.
Yeah.
Crotch down, he got to win. And because you can't hit the long ball off him so much. But when they start throwing slider, where's the first place they want to throw a slider? Well, they want to throw it down, but they also want to throw it in.
Yeah. And when you throw it in, baseball history's made. You pull the ball, you get it out a lot. And so, sure, they just keep sliding them out there. It's hard to hit a lot of home runs.
Also on the Ken Burns series, Billy Crystal told a funny story of having a conversation with you and mentioning that he had gone to a game, a doubleheader at Yankee Stadium when he was a kid in the mid-'50s, and in the second game of the doubleheader, Whitey Ford strikes you out, and you without hesitation say, curveball, low and away. Now, we just heard you recount the last at-bat, which is remarkable enough, but it was your last at-bat. But I suspect that you can still, 40, 50 years later, remember specific at-bats, and not just what you did in those at-bats, but the sequence of pitches and what you were thinking and what you think the pitcher was thinking.
Fairly close on the sequence, but I could sure as hell tell you what I hit. And, But you know what? You're talking here, and we're talking about guessing or proper thinking at the plate is what I call it. But if I were to sit at a game with, say, an outstanding hitter like Tony is, and we sat there, and we knew a little bit about the pitcher, but you wouldn't have to know that much because there's so much you can see of a pitcher that tells you what he does. You can watch him warm up. And every curveball he throws, he can't get over. I'm not going to look for curveballs at the plate. He pretty near checks you out. Yep. And I was always in left field watching those guys warming up in the bullpen, you know. And I was geared in a little bit. But the big thing is that when you are guessing, what have you lost? Nothing. It could be a perfect pitch he threw anyway. The most important thing about hitting is getting a good ball to hit. Rogers Hornsby told me that. Getting a good ball to hit. And what does it mean? What does it mean to you, Tony?
To me, getting a good ball to hit means it's a pitch that I can handle, I can put a good swing on it, and I have any doubt in my mind that when I start to pull a bat through the zone, this ball that I'm going to hit hard.
Single in the first, single in the second. That drove in a run. Double in the fourth. That drove in a run. Hit it well. Gone. 4 for 4. 6-2 Padres.
Legend to legend will continue after this.
You're watching Legend to Legend, Williams and Gwynn on Classic Sports Network.
Well, we're getting the insights on hitting from Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams. Jerry Coleman is the broadcaster for the San Diego Padres, has been for just about a quarter of a century. Played during the time when Ted Williams was there, victimized him with a couple of key late-inning hits when the Boston Red Sox just couldn't get past the Yankees. And as we look at these two men, you have a great story of how this season began because Ted Williams was in San Diego to throw out the first ball. I guess it was almost to honor Tony Gwynn, wasn't it?
Well, you know, it was one of those things. Ted is from San Diego, and it was a perfect tie-in. So Gwynn escorted Williams out to the mound, and Ted doesn't walk very well now, I'm sorry to say. He had a stroke and it slowed him down. But Tony tells the story, while he was going out there, he would talk to him. He said, now what do you do with this and this and this? No, you do this. He's quizzing this guy and giving him lessons on the way to the mound. And Tony loves it. Oh, he loves it. And of course, there's nobody who studies hitting more than Tony, except Ted Williams. I think those two, of all the great hitters in the history of the game, analyze hitting more than anyone. And, of course, Tony's a tremendous athlete.
If Ted wrote the book, and many people believe that he did, Tony's read the book. He's now gone beyond the book and into Ted's head. Has he taken that intense approach to hitting to another level, or is it not quite at what Ted was?
Couldn't take it any more intense than anybody in the world. He gets to the ballpark at 1 o'clock every day for a 7 o'clock game. He's there 6 hours in advance, sometimes sooner, takes batting practice, goes out there, looks at films all the time. It's all he does on the road. Takes film with him, studies himself, studies pitchers. You know, the guy lives baseball, and that's why he's great. And most geniuses, whatever they may be, and he is a hitting genius, do that. They're focused on one thing, and Tony's focused on hitting.
Jerry, in doing your job every day with the Padres, you get to spend a few minutes every day because Tony contributes to your pregame show.
Sure.
What have you learned, in addition to what you've told us already, about him, the person, and how hitting is a part of his life?
Well, if you ask him a question about, Tony, I mean, what do you mean inside out? And he'll go for 5 minutes. I mean, he breaks it down piece by piece, and he leaves me. I was never that good. I don't know what he's talking about, literally, because his analytical way of the arms and this and that and so forth, and the way he moves the bat and how he steps forward, and, you know, he steps up in front of the plate. Most people are deep in the box. He's even. And he'll go for 5 minutes and analyze every phase of the swing and the pitcher that he's hitting against. Not many people even know where to start. You know, they see the ball, hit the ball. That's their philosophy.
Tony got to the World Series once, failed against the Tigers in '84. If he goes the rest of his career and doesn't win a championship like Ted Williams, should he be remembered any differently?
I think he's going to be remembered as the greatest hitter of his era. There's no question. Now, Wade Boggs has done a tremendous job with the Yankees, but Tony, in the last 3 years, has a .372 batting average. He's gotten better as he's gotten older. He's going into his late 30s now.
Now, if you were surfing, you know, all the channels that you've got on your cable television, and you came across a conversation between Tony and Ted, two guys you know well, would you stop and watch?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Why would you not listen to the two greatest? Now, Williams is a different hitter. Power average. Gwynn is not a power hitter. He's an average hitter. Williams, 344. Gwynn is somewhere in the high 330s or whatever. And he's catching up. He's getting better as he gets older. I can't believe this. Usually, when you go by 35, you start sliding down. Sometime after 30. Gwynn's getting better because he analyzes, studies. He knows what that pitcher's going to throw before he throws it. He's incredible.
Thanks to Jerry Coleman. Now more of the conversation between Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams.
And no wonder even Joe McCarthy loved him. I remember Joe McCarthy so well, and so did some others up here. Morris Joe was a stickler for coat and tie. And as the new Red Sox manager after his great years in the Yankees, people wondered how he'd treat Ted's refusal to wear a tie. His first day on the job, Joe appeared in a sports shirt, saying anybody can get along with a 400 hitter.
Ted Williams and Tony Gwynn. Legend to legend.
What would you have done today if you were playing today with the advent of all these games on television and 90% of the shots begin with the center field camera, which gives you a chance to see pitches in games you're not playing in and analyze them in a way that you never could have when you played? Would that have helped you a lot?
In one inning of play, you can tell pretty much how fast he is. Certainly the first time up, and that's the reason I always took the first pitch. I wanted to, hey, just kind of renew my picture of him throwing the ball. And if he throws it, whoop, geez, it goes, all right, say, this son of a bitch has got it today, you know? And he throws a curve, and I see it right from scratch. But I always took the first pitch to see his delivery, Now, they all knew that, so they come right in there with the first pitch.
Yep.
Now, half the time, they didn't get it over anyway. They didn't get it over. And so they're in the hole for no reason in the world, because they think, I'm not going to lay this one in there. Yeah. And they try to hit a spot and they're behind. Big thing is that you only take advantage of trying to pull the ball. Pulling the ball is the hardest way to hit. Hardest way to hit. And still some of the greatest hitters were pull hitters.
Like
they were remarkably good hitters, and there's no question to guess. Hell, Jimmy Fox guessed all the time. Greenberg was a champion guesser. I don't know that much more about the other great hitters, but I know Greenberg. And all he wanted to do is talk to a young kid, me, when I was a young player. When we went to the All-Star game, he'd come over to my room, the great Greenberg, home run king, highest paid player in the league, and we'd start talking about the pitchers. Now, Lopat, one of the cutest, shrewdest, junk ballers, and still was pretty damn good, he'd come to my room, too. You know the funny part of it is all he wanted to do was talk about hitting. He wanted to hear what the hitters had to say, you know. So, no question, he was a smart pitcher. And didn't have that much, but, boy, he was kind of tough to hit.
What's the biggest mistake that most hitters make today as you watch the game, and I know you still love it, and you're still a student of it. What's the biggest mistake they make?
Not hitting according to their capabilities, and not hitting with any kind of common sense from the neck up as to how they have to hit this pitcher. Now, those are the two biggest things. They don't know enough about the pitcher, and if they don't, then they got to sacrifice and hit the ball through the middle more. But once you know what that pitcher, I mean, once you get a good idea, or instinctively, immediately know what you can take advantage with this guy. I mean, this guy throws me a hell of a sinking fastball, and I say, boy, this guy's got a good sinker. And say it's the first pitch. I sure as hell ain't going to look for a curveball a second pitch, am I? I'm going to look for what I've seen, right? So or why hit with two strikes? Just say fastball now.
Yep.
So that's the time that you can take advantage of the count. Yep. And you're really not guessing, you're just playing common sense. Yep. So the longer you play, Tony, the more you'll guess, I think. And the more home runs you'll hit per time at bat, too. Because you got a lot of power, too. But you know, if you hit them there, that's one thing. But if you're guessing and you hit them there, boy, now you got it going.
I like your line. History is made.
All right, remember on your big next salary raise, don't forget about old Ted.
Ted, thank you. Great to see you.
All right. In sports, our long-lasting attention always gravitates to the players who are great. And the more we learn about them, we find that they love the game they play. Maybe you have to be great. Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams certainly do, and they have our long-lasting attention. I'm Al Trautwig. Thanks for joining us.
Classic Sports Network is brought to you in part by fees paid.